can I get you please to start by introducing yourself
Okay.
and what you do?
Okay. My name is Chris Schroeder. I'm with Qatar Airways, the national carrier of the state of Qatar, and I'm the head of corporate social responsibility, environment, and fuel projects in Qatar Airways.
The aviation industry always gets a big part of the blame every time we talk about climate change. How often have airlines had corporate social responsibility sections?
Well, actually, it has been around for quite some time. Funny enough, a lot of Asian carriers started first. In the Middle East, it's fairly new for us, but we started 2 years ago. European carriers have it for quite some time. North American carriers is already part of the corporate culture.
So what does it actually mean?
Well, corporate social responsibility is, if you take it in its real terms, it's sustainable development. And nowadays, really, without sustainable development, particularly in a volatile industry such as aviation, you're unable to do corporate planning, to be honest.
But can an airline be be involved in sustainable development? Usually, airlines get blamed a lot for emissions and.
Well, yeah, I don't really want to repeat that aviation only causes 2% of the pollution. I think we're all causing pollution. It doesn't matter if it's automotive or power industry, shipping industry, and so forth. So aviation obviously contributes its part to it. We are caught a little bit between bad press and reality here. You can have a hybrid car, you can have a solar-powered car, but you cannot have a solar-powered airplane. And I think no one wants to fly on a solar-powered airplane. But on the other hand, we're contributing up to 12% to the world's GDP. When we had the volcano-related airspace closure in Europe, where international aviation came to a standstill, the damage that was caused worldwide to aviation and economies because of missing spare parts and people are not being able to move showed how important aviation is.
We all rely on aviation. It's
Yeah.
become just an unavoidable part of our lives. But so what kind of steps are you taking in Qatar Airways to make it a little bit more green?
Well, to be honest, let me be very frank about this. And I always like to say that because an airline is not in the business of burning fuel. An airline is in the business of transporting people and goods safely from A to B. Burning fuel is a necessity to conduct this business. Governments around the world, everyone talks about sustainable biofuels and things like that. And I'm saying, give it to me. But it's not there. It's just talk. So what we have decided in Qatar Airways, because we're a very fast-growing airline, we have a 35% year-on-year sustainable growth until the next 10 years to come. We said, okay, let's stop talking and do something. So we looked at alternative fuel feedstocks. We figured it got to be out there. We've got to be able to do something. Now we're blessed that we have the world's third largest natural gas reserves in the state of Qatar, which is being explored, which is still a fossil fuel, I agree. That's why I say it's not the silver bullet, but it's a big step ahead. And let's develop jet fuel out of it. It was successful. We started back in late 2007. We operated the first commercial flight by 2009 successfully with full certification. And it's a drop-in fuel, which means it's a blend fuel with conventional jet fuel.
And the conventional engine.
Yeah, so we can utilize it with the current technology because, again, as an airline, we're the end user of what's being given to us. So Rolls-Royce, Pratt & Whitney, Airbus, Boeing, they say this is it and you got to live with it. But we said there got to be another way. Then we looked into, all the talks of biofuels. So we said to ourselves, well, what is biofuels all about? How much is it? Can it be produced? What are the feedstocks? Things like that. So last year, with national entities, Airbus and Rolls-Royce as well, we decided we embark on a complete feasibility study into sustainable biofuels. And what kind of feedstocks can we grow in the state of Qatar? Because we're a desert island, with temperature of 40 plus degrees, scarce water resources. We have food supply issues and things like that.
So if you start using this new fuel, what kind of savings will you be doing in terms of emissions?
Well, we look at the twofold here. We look at gas to liquid fuel and future biofuel, which we can then blend with gas to liquid fuel.
The gas to liquid fuel is now there, available,
gas to liquid
ready,
fuel is there.
being used.
Yeah. By 2014, we look at the combination of these two to be completely independent of crude oil. The environmental benefits of gas to liquid fuel are the CO2 footprint is slightly lower. It's not 3.15 tons per ton of fuel burned, it's 3.106. Now that's a very hypothetical number, but the overall fuel burn is reduced by 2%. So if I fly from Doha to London and I burn 20 tons with conventional fuel, with GTL fuel I burn 2% less. So that reduces indirectly the carbon footprint. But we're not only looking at CO2, we're addressing all greenhouse gas emissions. So we're looking at NOx, SOx, soot, and all this stuff. So GTL does not burn any kind of aromatics. GTL burns almost no sulfur, which means the communities around the airports we fly to have an improved air quality. And from 2012 on, the only fuel you get ex-Qatar is GTL jet fuel. There will be no other fuel available.
Will you be, is it like a formula that anyone with reserves of gas can follow?
Yes.
And will you be spreading this technology around?
Yeah, it's the technology is a 1920 technology. It's the Fischer-Tropsch technology. Shell, our partner, has been actually experimenting with that since the 1960s. So it's all out there. It's being repeated in the USA. The United States Air Force uses, I think, if not 50%, but up to 50% of GTL fuel. The problem is that the GTL trains, as we call them, where you convert gas to liquid, are fairly capital intensive. But Shell made its single biggest investment outside of the UK in the state of Qatar and invested over $12 billion into this project. And it can be done everywhere. And not only natural gas, you can use any kind of gas. You can use biogas, you can gas from forest residues and things like that. So it is possible. The technology is out there. It's accessible. And eventually, obviously, our interest is also to have the fuel available not only ex-Qatar, but ex-London, ex-New York, and so forth. So it's a bit of a logistical problem we have to still work on. And the same with biofuels is downstream supply logistics. Is how do you feed a new fuel into the system for airports and things like this, avoid contamination and so forth. So,
but it's good to see that kind of thinking starting to arise and these kinds of options starting to enter the game.
Yeah, well, I must say I have a very forward-thinking leadership in the country. We have a 2030 vision, and I have a very supportive CEO. So.
Great.
He says, well, you do it, just make sure it's being done.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.